One of the reasons humanity has become the dominant species on this planet is our ability to adapt. And woe betide any outside force, such as aliens, who forget that. Loophole by Arthur C. Clarke. Read by Carl Wallace. From President to Secretary Council of Scientists. I have been informed that the inhabitants of Earth have succeeded in releasing atomic energy by making experiments with rocket propulsion. This is most serious. Let me have a full report immediately, and make it brief this time. From Secretary, Council of Scientists to President. The facts are as follows. Some months ago, our instruments detected intense neutron emission from Earth, but analysis of radio programs gave no explanation at the time. 3 days ago, a second emission occurred. Soon afterwards, all radio transmissions from Earth announced that bombs were in use in the current war. The translators have not yet completed their interpretation, but it appears the atomic bombs are of considerable power. 2 have so far been used. Some details of construction have been released, but the elements concerned have not yet been identified. A full report will be forwarded as soon as possible. For the moment, all that is certain is that the inhabitants of Earth have liberated atomic power, so far only explosively. Very little is known concerning rocket research on Earth. Our astronomers have been observing the planet carefully ever since radio emissions were detected a generation ago. It is certain that long-range rockets of some kind are in existence on Earth, but there have been numerous references to them in recent military broadcasts. However, no serious attempt has been made to reach interplanetary space. When the war ends, it is expected the inhabitants of the planet may carry out research in this direction. We will pay very careful attention to their broadcasts, and the astronomical watch will be rigorously enforced. For we have further the planet's technology, it should require about 20 years before Earth develops atomic weapons capable of crossing space. In view of this, it would seem time has come to set up a base on the moon, so closer scrutiny can be kept on experiments when they commence. The war on Earth has now ended, apparently owing to the introduction of the atomic bomb. This will not affect the above arguments, but it may mean the inhabitants of Earth can devote themselves to pure research again more quickly than expected. Some broadcasts have already pointed out the application of atomic power to rocket propulsion. From President to Chief of Bureau of Extraplanetary Security. Equip an expedition to the satellite of Earth immediately. It is to keep a close watch on the planet and report at once if rocket experiments are in progress. The greatest care must be taken to keep our presence on the moon a secret. You are personally responsible for this. Report to me at yearly intervals or more often if necessary. From President to Chief of Security. Where is the report of Earth? From Chief of Security to President. The delay is regretted. It was caused by the breakdown of the ship carrying the report. There have been no signs of rocket experimenting during the past year, or no reference to it in broadcasts from the planet. From Security to President. You will see my yearly reports to your respected father on this subject. There has been no development of interest in the past 15 years, but the following message has just been received from our base on the moon. Rocket projectile, apparently atomically propelled, left Earth's atmosphere today from northern landmass, traveling to space for 1/4 diameter of the planet before returning under control. From President to Chief of State. Your comments, please. From Chief of State to President. This means the end of our traditional policy. The ultimate hope of security lies in preventing extraterrestrials from making further advances in this direction. From what we know of them, this will require some overwhelming threat. Since its high gravity makes it impossible for us to land on the planet, our sphere of action is restricted. The problem was discussed nearly a century ago, and I agree with its conclusions. We must act immediately along those lines. From President to Secretary of State. Inform the Council an emergency meeting is convened for noon tomorrow. From President to Security. 20 battleships should be sufficient to put this planet into operation. Fortunately, there is no need to arm them, yet. Report progress of construction to me weekly. From Chief of Security to President. 19 ships are now completed. The 20th is still delayed owing to hull failure and will not be ready for at least a month. From President to Chief of Security. 19 will be sufficient. I will check the operational plan with you tomorrow. Is the draft of our broadcast ready yet? From Chief of Security to President. Draft herewith. People of Earth. We, the inhabitants of the planet you call Mars, have for many years observed our experiments towards achieving interplanetary travel. These experiments must cease. Our study of our race has convinced us you are not yet fitted to leave your planet in the present state of your civilization. The ships you now see flying over cities are capable of destroying them utterly, and will do so unless you discontinue your attempts to cross space. We have set up an observatory on your moon, and can immediately detect any violation of these orders. If you obey them, we will not interfere with you again. Otherwise, one of your cities will be destroyed every time we observe a rocket leaving the Earth's atmosphere, by order of the President and Council of Mars. From President to Chief of Security. I approve. The translation can go ahead. I will not be sailing with the fleet after all. Report to me in detail immediately on your return. From Chief of Security to President. Have the honor to report the successful completion of our mission. The voyage to Earth was uneventful. Radio messages from the planet indicated we were detected at a great distance, and great excitement has been aroused before our arrival. The fleet was dispersed according to plan, and I broadcast the ultimatum. We left immediately, and no hostile weapons were brought to bear against us. I will report in detail within 2 days. From Security, Council of Scientists to President. The psychologists have completed their report, which is attached herewith. As might be expected, our demands at first infuriated this stubborn and high-spirited race. The shock to their pride must have been considerable, for they believed themselves to be the only intelligent being in the universe. However, within a few weeks, there was a rather unexpected change in the tone of their statements. They had begun to realize we were intercepting all their radio transmissions, and some messages have been broadcast directly to us. They state they have agreed to halt all rocket experiments in concordance with our wishes. This is unexpected, as it is welcome. Even if they are trying to deceive us, we are perfectly safe now that they have established a second station just outside the atmosphere. They can't possibly develop spaceships without us seeing them or detecting their tube radiation. The watch on Earth will be continued rigorously, as instructed. From Chief of Security to President. Yes, it is quite true there have been no further rocket experiments in the last 10 years. We certainly did not expect Earth to capitulate so easily. I agree the existence of this race now constitutes a permanent threat to our civilization. We are making experiments along the lines you suggest. The problem is a difficult one, owing to the great size of the planet. Explosives will be out of the question, and radioactive poison of some kind appears to offer the greatest hope of success. Fortunately, we now have an indefinite time in which to complete this research, and I will report immediately. From Lieutenant Commander Henry Forbes, Intelligence Branch, Special Space Corps. To Professor X. Maxton, of Philological Department, University of Oxford. The above papers, with others, were found in the ruins of what is believed to be the capital of Martian city. The frequent use of the ideograph for Earth suggests they may be of special interest, and there's hopes they can be translated. Other papers will be following shortly. H. Forbes, Lieutenant Commander. Dear Max, sorry I've had no time to contact you before. I'll be seeing you as soon as I get back to Earth. Gosh, Mars is in a mess. Our coordinates were dead accurate, and the bombs materialized right over their cities, just as the Mount Wilson boys predicted. We're sending a lot of stuff back to the two small machines, but until the big transmitters materialize, we're rather restricted, and of course none of us can return, so hurry up with it. I'm glad we can get to work on rockets again. I may be old-fashioned, but being squirted through space at the speed of light doesn't appeal to me. Yours in haste, Henry. The End.